Book reviews sell books, but the number of stars isn't nearly as important as you might think. Why? Because most books on Amazon have the 4.5 star graphic. Sure, it might actually have 4.3 stars or 4.6 stars, but the image is a 4.5 star graphic. And so what do readers look at right after they see the number of stars? They jump to the number of ratings. And that is what actually sells books. It's what puts readers at ease that this is a good buy. And you do it too, right? A book with 3,000 reviews feels more trustworthy than a book with 3 or a book with 30. This is true even if it's a genre you love, and sometimes even if it's an author you've read before. So the more reviews a book has, the better it will sell, and the more reviews it will go on to get. To him who has reviews, more reviews will be given. But to him who has not reviews, even the reviews he thinks he has are only from his mom. So how do you get reviews? And more importantly, how do you get the kind of reviews that lead to more sales, that lead to more reviews? We'll find out in this episode of Novel Marketing, the longest running book marketing podcast in the world. And our guest today is the founder of the Independent Book Review and author of the book, The Truth About Book Reviews, an insider's guide to getting and using reviews to grow your readership. Joe Walters, welcome to the Novel Marketing Podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Thomas. I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah, it's good to have you. But reviews is a really broad term. So before we get into the tactics, we should clarify what are the different kinds of reviews.
Yeah, this is crucial from the very beginning. So I classify them as 3 different types of reviews. I've heard other people talk about 4, but let's nail down to 3. I'm going to start with the first in my repertoire, which I'd call blurbs or editorial reviews, which are really testimonials for your book. Just like a business has celebrities telling people that their company is awesome. Your book is awesome, says big author #1 or notable review platform #1. So those are blurbs or editorial reviews.
Oh, and what's interesting about these reviews is that readers think that these are reviews of the book, but really they're reviews of the author. So the way you get them is not by sending your book to famous person #1 and hoping that they'll review your book. You have to already be friends with famous person #1 before they'll commit to reading your book.
Yeah, there are so many connections that have to be had in order to get those high-profile blurbs. You can get blurbs other ways. You don't necessarily have to be the biggest author to get a bigger blurb, but you probably aren't going to get the biggest blurb if you're a low-profile author, and that's okay. You can still work with blurbs in a different way.
That's right. And another perk of this kind of blurb or this kind of review is that these reviews are used to train AI. So the various AI models will look at Kirkus reviews, and they'll look at newspaper reviews and other kind of publication reviews, even famous book bloggers. All of those reviews will train AI, and they get more prominence than random Goodreads user #7 or random Amazon user. Those also might train AI depending on what data access they have, but the editorial reviews really matter.
They do, yeah. And I mean, Rufus is reading them too on Amazon. So as long as you're putting your editorial reviews on your Amazon Author Central account, you are helping their AI figure out how to position their description of your book and how to recommend it. And right now, above the customer reviews, there's a little blurb about how people are responding to the book. AI does really read these things. And then I'd say the second one that I usually pay attention to is media or trade reviews. Those are the ones you're chasing publicity for. So I would count social media reviews as that, even though it's a little bit lower on the rung, depending on the influencer, it could be pretty high for you. As long as you're increasing your readership by showing up on other people's platforms, that's a media or trade review. A trade review is more specifically platforms that focus on books only, while media reviews can be People Magazine, who cover a lot of different things. And then the last and potentially most important type of review is a customer review, which is on Amazon, which is on Barnes & Noble, Kobo, all sorts of different places, Goodreads. Those are the real people. Those are what almost every browser is going to check before they make their purchase. They add to your star rating at the very beginning, the very top of your Amazon page. Customer reviews matter, even just in numbers, not necessarily what they're saying, even though if they say nice things, that's definitely helpful too.
Yeah, and that's an important underline. The other two kinds of reviews don't contribute to the number of reviews. They can still help you sell books, but that number, which is critical for validating you, especially after your book leaves the number one new release or new release tag. So you get a little bit of grace when your book is brand new. Readers won't judge you quite as harshly if they know it's a brand new book. They don't expect as many reviews. But yeah, that number is critical, and we'll get there. But let's actually start with editorial reviews, because this is the first kind of review you get for a book, which is, reaching out to fellow authors. Your book doesn't even have to be finished yet to start getting blurbs from fellow authors. So how do you get more endorsements for your book?
The first step is knowing who you are not necessarily competing against, but in the realm with your niche. You have to recognize your niche. You have to read inside of your niche. You need to know who people are paying attention to in your subject in order to have a chance of contacting the right people. So you should be reading them. You can be finding them just before your book is ready to come out. You don't necessarily have to have been reading urban fantasy for the last 3 years. If you are working on an urban fantasy novel now and you foresee publication in the next year, then it's time to start researching. You should probably start reading other people's books to get an idea of who is succeeding and who you really want as your blurbers. You want to align with these people. You want your book to align with these people before you even send your book to them.
And you need to know who the kingmakers are. So sometimes there's a single person in a genre who his endorsement or her endorsement means everything. So there was a time in the business book, especially marketing book space, that a Seth Godin blurb was key to success, because they were Seth Godin superfans like me. I went through a 5 or 6 year era where I read every Seth Godin book that existed, and I read every book that had a Seth Godin blurb on the cover. And it would be on the front cover because the authors knew how important a Seth Godin blurb was. They knew that if they could get a blurb from Seth Godin, it would rocket their book to the front of people's to-read lists. And that's not a tactic you can use anymore. I don't think Seth Godin has that kind of influence anymore. But it still helps on a business book, but it wouldn't help on a lit RPG. It wouldn't help on a romance. A lot of fiction readers are like, who's Seth Godin? Why should I care about this guy? But there's somebody else in their microgenre that really matters. And so knowing who the number one person is, or I would say having a title that conveys credibility. So number one New York Times bestselling author, Senator so-and-so, right? Like something that, whether I may not have heard of Joe Smith, but I do know, senator of such and such state, that matters. Or maybe it doesn't, right? If it's a political thriller, it probably matters quite a bit. If it's a romance, it probably doesn't.
Yeah, if you don't have your book quite done yet, your person really makes a big difference. Your platform really makes a big difference. But also, so does the pitch itself. If you are reading these people beforehand, then you need to take your time with that pitch and actually personalize it to the point where they recognize that you read their books, or they recognize that you follow their podcast. You actually have concrete details that you can't just get from a description. You need to know these people well in order to both get on their good side, make them feel all warm and cozy, but then recognize that, the product is actually good. You are actually a authority on this topic, and you're saying something new. So you need to hit different things for each blurber, and each blurber's pitch is different, because it's important to get Seth. I mean, it makes a really, really big difference in putting it in libraries and bookstores as well, in case you're chasing the traditional route, or you see that as part of your marketing strategy. Getting blurbs from notable names and even notable review sources, not necessarily only people and authors. You can get them from Kirkus, and you can get them from Independent Book Review, and you can get those blurbs and use them to your benefit before publication.
And you want to start building those relationships now. Right now is when you go to conferences like the Novel Marketing Conference to connect with other authors, because building relationships takes time, and there needs to be an exchange of favors, right? As you build your relationship, you're doing favors for each other. And a lot of authors don't start building their network of fellow authors until right before the book comes out. It's like, it's too late at that point. You're thirsty and you're trying to dig your well at the same time, right? It's like, you got to dig your well before you're thirsty. You have to start building that network and connecting, because relationships lead to other relationships. And that person that you met at the conference, maybe they're not a good fit for you, but they're good friends with like the number one person in your genre, and they can make an introduction, but they have to like you first, and that takes time. So there's a whole process here. And there is one shortcut if you don't want to bother with all of that, and that is to start a podcast. So I have a listener who started a podcast in her genre, and she had, I think, the only podcast in her subgenre, and she had all the top authors on her podcast, just one right after another. And she has a debut novel coming out in that subgenre, and they all want to blurb her book, or many of them do. So she got the top authors because she already did a favor for them first. She had them on her podcast. She helped promote them. She did giveaways featuring their books. I may have her on her own episode, so I won't go into too much to her story. But having a podcast and dedicating a podcast to your genre, particularly if your subgenre doesn't already have a podcast, is a really great way of blessing other people first before asking them to bless you. Because asking from a blurb from a stranger is a big request, right? It's like, hey, stranger, will you spend 4 hours doing this favor for me, right? That'd be like somebody asking you to clean their garage for 4 hours. It's like, that's a really big ask to ask a complete stranger. And top authors get inundated with blurb requests, and they just ignore them most of the time.
There's a lot of groundwork to be done. With customer reviews, you can't really do that back and forth. You can't do a favor for someone in order for them to leave a review on Amazon. But here's your loophole section. Blurbs, you can. Be nice. Have a podcast and promote their work years before you even start asking for help from them. I mean, that's where social media and mentioning the books that you read can make a big difference down the road. Being a real person on social media, commenting on other people's success so that when your success finally comes, they're happy for you. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's difficult. Social media, it's easy for it to eat up a lot of your time. So if you're going to use it, I would recommend being really strategic. But if possible, connect with people in real life. Because social media friends aren't your real friends. You can't sleep on their couch. But if you interact with people in real life, they can become real friends. Like I was just interviewed by somebody in the author world. And, we go back a long time. We've met in person a whole bunch of times. And at the end of the interview, she's like, hey, if you're ever in my town, or you and your family are ever in my town, and you need a place to stay, right? Y'all can crash at our place, right? Like that only happens from real life interactions typically, although it can happen online. But you've got to, as quickly as possible, I would say, move it to at least a Zoom call. If you're just liking each other's stuff, it's hard to see the other person as a person. I guess one good metaphor I would use is when you're driving and somebody wants over in your lane, you see them as a car. But if you make eye contact with the driver of the car, suddenly you see them as a person driving the car, and you're much more likely to let them in your lane. And they're much more likely to let you in their lane, because now you're not an impersonal car, you're a fellow human being.
I think we should all at once take that podcast idea and run with it. It makes a really big difference, because I am not someone who goes out very often unless I'm going to like an author reading. I get away from my kids for a couple hours. That sounds amazing. Author readings really just bring me personal joy, and so I make an excuse to go out there. And so who else is in the room? I mean, it's other readers, it's other writers, and it's people who you can connect with in person even once. I mean, that does make a big difference. But if you're a homebody, you kind of need an excuse to meet these people face to face. I think you can make some friends online. I think that you can definitely stay faceless if you feel uncomfortable presenting your face, or if you don't see the excuse, if you're not ready to start a podcast, if you don't want to do it. I mean, blurbs are possible. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get the top blurb. I want you to get the top blurb. Other reviewers want you to get the top blurb, and buyers want you to get the top blurb. But if you don't get them, you're going to be okay anyway, because you can still kind of fill that void. If you don't have any editorial reviews, if you don't have any blurbs, AI has nothing to read. And also, the people on your website aren't necessarily, or the people who are visiting your book page aren't thinking that the experts are saying something good as well as the everyday people are saying something good. And the experts make a big difference. Put author of blank title up there in your editorial review section, and you're already a step above. It doesn't necessarily mean that that author has to be a best-selling author. It means that they are already validated by being an author, or this review platform is already validated by being itself. It doesn't necessarily have to be the biggest. It doesn't have to be People Magazine that said this, but if they said something amazing, genuine, and you can tell just from that short little blurb, that works.
And some people are like, can't I just write a good book? And why do I have to deal with all of this? And I'll say, your Amazon page, your cover, the editorial reviews, the regular reviews, the book description, all of this is peacock feathers. So peacocks have this ostentatious plumage to attract peahens, and it's a way of signaling to the peahens, I am a healthy mate. Look, I can waste all of these calories on all of these very bright, colorful feathers because I'm not afraid of anything in my environment. My parents live out on a ranch. There's a bunch of coyotes, but there's also peacocks, and the peacocks are able to live amongst the coyotes, no problem. And they're able to do that and have beautiful plumage, and it's a way of signaling. It's the same with your writing. So if you can signal, hey, I have these markers of quality, it makes people more likely to believe you when you say this is a really good book. And I will say probably the most important marker of quality is the actual reader reviews themselves. And so let's talk about that. I'm sitting on Amazon. I've got 5 reviews for my book. Help. How do I get more?
How much time you got? There are so many different tactics that you can take. Yours is different than theirs. You need to take a step back. If you only have 5 reviews and you published your book 3 months ago, sit with what you have right now and look at your presentation first. Are your peacock feathers bright? Does this thing really look attractive to its readers? Because if you're only have 5 organic reviews. So those, I'm saying, if you only have 5 reviews, you didn't ask anybody. So I'm going to need you to start asking people, because you can't only depend, especially if you're a beginning author, you can't only depend on your audience doing it all by itself. You need to, first and foremost, before you do anything, put a page at the back of the book with a clickable link where you request a review from them, and it sends them directly to the review page. That's organic reviews too. You don't have to ask a single person. As long as they reach the end of your book, you are asking them. And they're your target for this. If they finished your book, that's a pretty good chance that they liked it enough to finish it. Now you can just try selling your book. By selling your book, you are asking for reviews. But still, that is not enough. I need you to do your research after you've improved your book. If your description is bad, I'm going to need you to fix the description ASAP. If you have no editorial reviews, I need you to get some editorial reviews. If your cover is bad, maybe you don't know it yet, but I need you to take a second look at it, because covers will convert reviewers just like they convert buyers. Reviewers can say yes to a review pitch with just a cover. It really, really makes a big difference to make sure that you have a strong presentation before you go pitching people. And so when it comes to the pitch, too, so you need to find these reviewers. I like social media sleuthing for Amazon reviews and Goodreads reviews. You can search your keywords, your categories. I need you to find the people who are talking about books in your genre. Even if your book is unique and you think no other books are in your genre, there probably are. Find those books. Figure out who is talking about them and start beginning a relationship. I don't need you to do an inauthentic relationship. I don't need you to be ingenuine and just like somebody's page and then send a DM directly afterwards saying, hey, I wrote a book that's just like that. Please read mine. Take your time. Recognize what they're talking about, what they liked about what they talked about. All of these little things take time to follow these people, to figure out what people like. But one reader can make a big, big difference for you. As long as you have done a good job with your book, if you convert someone with the pitch, after you spend enough time on their page, recognizing what they like, and you recognize how to angle your pitch to finally say, hey, I loved this book too. I read this urban fantasy novel that you just reviewed. My favorite part was when Timmy and Sarah frolicked in the sun. You're very specific. You actually connect with someone, and then you say, I have a book for you. I would love to send it to you. And finding these people is the hardest part, but there are enough of them. Go away from social media. Start looking at blogs. Small blogs are some of my favorite things to do for Amazon reviews, because these people don't get the crazy pitches that the higher blogs do. And so if they have less pitches, if you are just following someone who started last month and they reviewed a book you recognize, take your time and send them a book and ask if they like it, if they'd be willing to leave a review for you. And so taking that small time, taking that incremental time to find one reader at a time really, really helps. And then there's also services that can help you. I'm not saying that you should ever pay for an Amazon review service where you just give money and somebody leaves reviews for you. That is not possible. You cannot do that. You might find them. Don't do it. Your account could get in trouble, and so could theirs. So there are services like, I like Puppy, which kind of works around the ask for help requirement that Amazon has. So Amazon doesn't want you asking directly for a review swap. You can't say, I'll read your book and review yours on Amazon, and you read mine on Amazon. But Puppy kind of works around that. You pay to get on Puppy, and you read other indie author books. And just by reading other author books, you are putting your book in front of other readers, and you can ask other readers who are also authors if they'd be willing to review your book. I like Puppy, so that's puppy.co. And then there's also things like BookFunnel that can kind of automate your review request process. You can put a link up on your website if your website is high traffic, and they can just go ahead and click into it, and the whole process can be automated. You don't necessarily have to ask them. All you have to do is grab my book for free through this BookFunnel link. And so they go through it. You don't have to spend the time to send it to them, to ask specifically. And sometimes those services even have review reminders like 30 days after they've downloaded the book. So those things can make a big difference. I could keep talking. There's a ton of ways for you to get Amazon reviews. It's about kind of juggling your time and figuring out which ones work for you.
And if none of them are working, it could be a sign of something deeper. Going back to the peacock, if you've got a peacock whose feathers are just really unhealthy and their feathers are falling out, the peacock might be old, the peacock might have a poor diet, the peacock might be injured. And sometimes, in fact, maybe oftentimes, the reason why you're not having a lot of reviews is because people aren't finishing your book. And you raced it out, and this is often, I find, the most common with authors who aren't reading the bestsellers in their genre. They're not familiar with the reader expectations in their genre, and so their book is just missing the mark in minor ways. Not enough to make people angry, so not enough to earn the 1 and 2 star reviews, but also not enough to earn the did not finish. And especially if they're your friend, they're like, oh yeah, thank you so much. They get your book, they start reading it, they give up after a couple chapters, and then you're like, hey, can you leave me a review? Can you leave me a review? And they just keep deflecting because they don't want to tell you, hey, I didn't finish your book. It failed to grip my attention. And this is where craft is really important. And so you can't make up for a poorly written book with a lot of getting review techniques. And you're like, well, I got some, all of my reviews are 5-star reviews. And I was like, well, that's an indication they're also not reading your book, but they're a good enough friend. They're going to leave you a 5-star review anyway. They're going to totally back your play. And so writing the kind of book that people want to read, that the readers in your genre want to read, is critical for getting enough reviews beyond your own circle of friends and people who owe you favors and kind of these techniques. Like if you want actual readers to want to leave you a positive review, they have to finish your book feeling so happy, being like, this was exactly the meal I wanted to eat. And not the meal you wanted to cook, because the meal they wanted to eat, right? You made it to order. And then they're so happy that they leave you a positive review. So I should have mentioned that at the top of the episode. It's like, hey, craft matters here. Editing matters here. Go back and listen to my episode on when to ignore your editor, because that is a really craft for the purposes of marketing focused episode that will really help you thrive in your reviews. Another technique I will say that really helps reviews when you're first getting started is having a launch team. And some mistakes I see people making with their launch team is, one, they give their launch team free books, and two, they have fellow authors on their launch team. These are two huge mistakes. You want readers of your genre on your launch team who've bought in other books in your genre, because you're kind of training the Amazon algorithm who buys and reads books. And you don't want them to have early access to the book, because you want them to read the book, ideally on a Kindle, so Amazon knows they finished the book, because that is also a hidden vote in favor of your book. So Amazon doesn't just look at the number of reviews, doesn't just look at the number of sales, it also looks at the number of completions. And so having your launch team reading your book in an organic way, leaving the reviews in an organic way, and paying for your book are all key factors. And if somebody won't join your launch team because they don't want to pay the $5, they're not going to leave you a review. Your book's not that expensive. And what you want to do is attract really passionate people who are excited about you, excited about your book, excited about what you're doing with your fiction, and want to help you. And if you do this well enough, people will pay to be in your launch team. My book, people paid $100 to be on the launch team. It was not easy to get on the launch team, and they were very motivated, and they really helped make the book a success when it first launched.
Getting $100 for people to leave a review for you, that sounds excellent. Not something I included in my book. I want verified purchases. That is my number one goal for launch teams. I've got a chapter in my book about it. It takes a lot of time to curate these people, and you might not have a big list. You might not already have a following for people who are signing up for you like this. And so one way to get around, so completions is definitely valuable. I'm chasing reviews and ratings from the gate. I want to make sure that my numbers look okay. I want completions from just my sales. I'm ready to chase it there. In terms of getting verified purchase reviews, I think it's extremely valuable for your launch team. I think that's important. I think that you can get those for free. I do think if you're on Amazon, if you're in KDP Select for your ebook, which not everybody wants to do, you can put your ebook up for free for one day, not tell anybody else except for your launch team that it has happened. And so they can download the book seconds before they leave a review, and they will count as a verified purchase. And so I know I'm not getting the completion from that, and I know that they got a free book from that, and I probably am not going to get a book sale from those people. But just getting those numbers out of the gate, especially when you don't have a big following already, is really important. And so I am down to send free books to people for the launch team. I am almost all the way on the side of, if you are willing to spend your time reading and reviewing your book, that might be more valuable than the $2.80 I would have gotten from my $4 book sale. And so I like KDP Select sometimes. I think being able to do a free promotion and sending it out to your email newsletter, I don't like as much. I don't think adding a bunch of free downloads to people you're trying to sell your book to is a wise decision. But I think for reviews and getting those verified purchases, which matter. So verified purchase, I'll slow down real quick. In the customer review section, you can leave a review for a book you did not buy on Amazon, but it doesn't come with a little tag, and it says verified purchase. And whenever it has a verified purchase tag, I put a pretty good chance that Amazon doesn't take it down. But if it does not have a verified purchase tag, they could start in the future not allowing any of them. It's up to Amazon. But right now, they can even just look at them and say, this seems a little sketchy, especially if you guys are Facebook friends already, and I know that because Amazon and Facebook share stuff, then they can just get rid of it. So I want to make sure you get that review at launch time, and I want to make sure it stays there. And so if they don't spend the $5 on the sale, I'm cool with it. As long as they are a verified purchase and you have gotten them there, then I think it's helpful.
Some reviews are better than no reviews. And I want to zoom in on the KDP Select, because you can fiddle with the price. There's, countdown deals and things with KDP Select. But when it comes to ratings and reviews, one of the best things in KDP Select is being inside of the Kindle Unlimited lending library. Now, you don't have to commit to being exclusive to Amazon all the time. You don't have to be in the lending library all the time. But I think any book really benefits from a 3-month kind of visit into the lending library, because you'll get a lot of ratings. You won't get as many reviews, I've noticed, but you get a lot of ratings, because when people finish the book, they get the option to give it a number of stars. And it's very easy to just hit a number of stars and hit submit. And that really helps get that rating number up. And it gives you access to readers who won't buy your book. So there is a community of readers who they spend their $10 on Kindle Unlimited. That's the only money they spend on books all month. And you have access to those $10 if you're in Kindle Unlimited. So why not, right? At least visit. A lot of authors like to stay in Kindle Unlimited because they make as much money from their page reads as they do from anything else. But for at least a 3-month visit, I think, especially early in your career, this is a no-brainer. as a way of getting those review numbers up.
Yeah. And ratings, I mean, they might be more important than reviews, really. I wrote a book on book reviews, and I'm saying ratings are more important, but the numbers just matter so much with customer reviews, with that star rating right at the top. I mean, Kindles ask you, they have a pop-up. And so it's really hard to type on my Kindle. Maybe I have an old one. And so I don't really like to leave reviews on my Kindles, but I can definitely hit a 5-star or a 4-star or, I mean, less. I'm not. Yeah, that takes you back to the comment about quality and craft. A lot of people don't, and nowadays, if you don't have a lot of them, a lot of people are choosing not to leave negative reviews anymore. I still see them; they're still going to happen, and I think I prefer them rather than silence. But if you're not getting there, you're not getting those ratings anyway. And yeah, the Kindle Unlimited library, I didn't even talk about it. It makes a big difference. It works for certain genres. It does not always work for all genres, but it is worth a try. I mean, and you get those countdown deals. You're able to kind of get on Amazon's good side as well. I don't have any stats for this, but it sure seems like they try to sell the books that are trying to sell on their platform a little bit more. And using that library and trying to cater to their audience can benefit you. I mean, there are ways that they can be sending emails to the Kindle Unlimited users who they know use Kindle Unlimited to sell your book for you. So it's worth a shot. I'm not sure yet. I don't know. Am I going to keep it after my first 90 days? I'm still playing around. My book is in the authorship genre, book marketing. I'm not sure if they're there. I'm trying to find them. I know that there are authors on Kindle Unlimited. If you are an author on Kindle Unlimited, there are books on there, but they really love certain genres like romance, and mystery thriller does pretty well on there too. And so play around with it. Get the option of a free download day. Don't tell anybody except for reviewers about it.
Yeah, speaking of less positive reviews, those tend to be on Goodreads rather than on Amazon. And I think there's a big misunderstanding for authors who are not Goodreads users. They tend to misunderstand how the Goodreads stars mean something different than the Amazon stars. So I don't know if you remember, in the early days of Goodreads, every star had a name. So 1 star was I hated it, 2 stars was I didn't like it, 3 stars was something like it was okay or I liked it, and 4 stars was I really liked it, and then 5 stars was I loved it. I don't know if I'm remembering correctly, but that's kind of the heuristic. And so 3 stars on Goodreads was actually a I liked it review, or it was okay. It was not negative. Whereas 3 stars on Amazon is like, this book is really terrible. Because Amazon reviewers tend to only give 4 or 5-star reviews unless they hated the book. Because of that, a lot of authors see Goodreads as like the haven for trolls, when in reality, Goodreads is not a place where readers are interacting with authors and leaving reviews as a way of saying, thank you for writing this book, I really enjoyed it. But primarily a place for readers to interact with their real-life friends and their social media friends. So the audience for a Goodreads review is not the world in general. It's my friends on Goodreads. So if you go to a Goodreads page, the reviews from your own friends are at the top, not the most helpful reviews. So you may have made the most helpful review for a book, but if I'm not your friend, I won't see it first. But my real life friend that I'm friends with on Goodreads, who left a 1-sentence review, will appear above yours, even if no one thought it was a helpful review. Goodreads will prioritize that review for me because we're friends. And so it's a very different way of thinking about reviews. And yet, Goodreads reviews now sometimes appear on Amazon pages, and they're surfaced for AI when AI is trying to decide what books to recommend. It looks at Goodreads as much or more than it looks at Amazon. So when we're talking about reviews, obviously Amazon's the most important place to have reviews, but Goodreads also really matters. And I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on getting Goodreads reviews. One tip I have is to do a Goodreads giveaway, where you give away ebooks, not paper books, and you give away 100. They let you pick how many give away. Give away as many as you can in the giveaway, because those giveaways can lead to, verified reviews inside of the Goodreads ecosystem.
Yeah. Wasn't it so nice when they let you do that for free, too?
We had it so good. Back when I was a kid, you didn't have to pay to give away books on Goodreads.
Yeah, it was such a great tool. I still like it, though. Yeah, I still like Goodreads giveaways. I'll slow down and just say overall, I do think chasing reviews on Goodreads is worthwhile, not only because they show up on Amazon sometimes. Not they don't show up in the customer review feed, but they pop up at the very top of that product page. You have 35 reviews on Goodreads and 20 reviews on Amazon. So it's showing that people are reading your book. It's showing that different people are reading your book too. So it does make a big difference. Goodreads is also nice because they don't have that same kind of vetting system that Amazon has. You can get your Facebook friends to leave Goodreads reviews. You can get your mom probably to leave a Goodreads review, even though I'd recommend not having the last name up there. But she can leave a star. Sure, go ahead. Go ahead, Mom. Thank you for that. And if you do it, you can also get your Goodreads page up before your Amazon page. You can do it in pre-publication as long as you have an ISBN. Nowadays, you need like an author website as well. And so it's beneficial because with the Goodreads page, you can start building your launch team and you can have a review page already live and that's something that they can already leave something for before your Amazon review link goes live. So that review link, I'll talk about a little bit too, is really beneficial to share directly. A actual review link, not the product page link where your launch team or people who you are sending the book to request a review from, you send the actual link so they don't have to click around to get it. With Goodreads, if you set up a page early, you can get that. And if you do, they have started to give you the ASIN of your ebook. And so you can get your ASIN even before publication. Whereas before with Amazon, you have to wait until publication to get that number. And now you can get it in pre-publication as long as you have an ISBN and you put it up on Goodreads. So I like that a lot because then you have the actual Amazon review link before it goes live. And with my launch team too, I have a redirection link at the end of my book. So instead of saying go to goodreads.com/book/89765431. You can put your author website and then have a /review link. So joewalters.com/review link. And instead of it taking you to joewalters.com, it takes you to your Goodreads page. And so that is really simple because if you put that at the end of your book, you don't have to edit your book after it goes live so that you can send readers to your Amazon review link. Confusing sounds that I just said, but the main point is you can set your link to send to Goodreads before publication because that link is live and they can work with it. But then once the book goes live, you can switch that Goodreads to the Amazon review link. So you don't have to go back into your ebook and edit that link that you just added for people to click. It can already be clickable by the time that you publish your book just by going to the redirection site. You can do that through WordPress. You can do something like tinyurl or Bitly.
So let me pause you real quick and explain how to do this in WordPress, because people in Wix and Squarespace, this is one of the features that I don't think they get. But if you're using WordPress, there's a free plugin called Redirection. It's one of the oldest, most popular plugins in WordPress. I use it extensively. So if like this podcast episode is going to have a number, I don't know what the number is yet, but at the end of the episode, I'll come in and say what the number is. That, /475, right? Let's say that's the episode number. That's a redirection plugin, Redirection, that redirects you to the correct URL. And if you have that plugin running on your website, you can very easily set up redirection links that then can be used all over in your marketing. You put them on your business card, you can put them into QR codes, you can put them in your reader letter, and that will help. Because, it isn't good to send people to only one place. So what you do is you send people to Goodreads before launch, and then you send them to Amazon after launch. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. Because the Amazon review link won't work. You're unavailable to leave a review until the book is actually live. Not live for pre-order, live in publication. You can't review it yet.
And I will say another thing I like about Goodreads is that it's very Kickstarter friendly. So I know authors who were able to get a Goodreads profile just off of a successful Kickstarter campaign. So they're a debut novelist, and when they're going through the process of Goodreads trying to figure out if they're real or not, they will send them to the Kickstarter campaign, and that's enough. Obviously, it's a lot easier for your second book because you're already a verified Goodreads author. But I recommend Kickstarter, especially for indie authors. You make so much more money selling directly to your readers. Kickstarter's way cheaper and more effective than paying for Shopify every month, where most authors are losing money most months because you get most of your sales in the launch month. So just do a Kickstarter. Get the sales from Kickstarter, and then you can still be exclusive to Amazon. You can have your cake and eat it too. And you've gotten all of these people who've paid you directly or through Kickstarter for your book. They can't leave you a verified review unless they're a super fan and want to buy your book again. But they can leave you a Goodreads review. And this will help you have really positive Goodreads reviews, because now your super fans are being directed towards Goodreads, and that can help offset kind of the Goodreads community having a slightly lower kind of standard of stars. And so it's a win-win that way.
Kickstarter is really valuable. A lot of the authors I worked for with the traditional press I worked with, Sunbury Press, they used Kickstarter to even just get attention for the traditional publisher and got sales to show them in the pitch, in their actual, like, please publish my book pitch. It's like, oh, 150 people already bought this book. It's like, oh, okay, that's nice. I don't usually get that right away. And so Kickstarter is valuable there, and it's valuable with reviews. You're building your fan base one by one, and those people can really become those super fans that you hope for. Another thing I saw on Goodreads for giveaways lately is that, so every time you join a Goodreads giveaway, you're added to the want to read list. And I heard on Penny Sanseviery's podcast, I think it was yesterday, that if you have marked a book as to be read or want to read, then Amazon, because Amazon owns Goodreads, is going to start showing you that on the Amazon product page that you added it to your Goodreads want to read. And so the integration between the two is finally happening. And so
it only took 12 years.
Yeah, they've done nothing. So
if you haven't been to Goodreads in a long time, as of this recording, it'll look basically the same. It's like a time portal back to 2012. They've recently updated the logo and made some really minor changes, but there are indications that they're starting to put more money into Goodreads. And so those of you listening to this episode in 2026, expect Goodreads to have usability improvements, expect it to look a little better, expect it to have a deeper integration with Amazon, and expect it possibly to be charging the various AI companies to train on its data, because they realized, oh, this is really valuable. All of these AI large language models are coming to Goodreads to harvest information. We should do something with it ourselves. One other way to get more reviews on Amazon, but this also could work on Goodreads, is to incorporate a direct request for a review in your onboarding sequence. So an onboarding sequence is a series of emails that brand new subscribers to your email newsletter get. And I recommend in one of the later emails that you ask for a review directly. So in the earlier emails, you're introducing yourself, you're introducing your book, you've got a link, hey, please buy this book, here's a link. But after 5 or 6 weeks, so week 5 of this direct sequence, you say, hey, what did you think of my book? Click here to leave a review. And in an email like this, you can have a click here to leave an Amazon review, click here to leave a Goodreads review. And you would be shocked how effective that kind of email is. And it's automatic. So sure, you have to set it up the first time. And if you're using MailerLite, it's kind of complicated. If you're using MailChimp, it's basically impossible. But if you're using Kit, which is what I recommend, it's super easy. Kit makes onboarding sequences really easy to set up, really easy to tweak. And there's really no reason not to have an onboarding sequence. I have a onboarding sequence drafter in the Patron Toolbox where you answer a few questions and it will actually create a draft email for, I think, 5 emails on your onboarding sequence. And if I remember correctly, one of those is a please leave me a review email. So this is a really easy way that a lot of authors don't think of, because like, oh, onboarding sequence, that's a big scary word, or they're using some cheap or free email service. It's like, if you're using a good one like Kit, it's really easy. There's no reason not to set it up.
Yeah, and you're looking in every nook and cranny for time, and an automated sequence, I mean, it's invaluable. You have to do too many things in book marketing. And so if you can automate something as important as a review request, it makes a big difference. When I was working for those publishers, I'd always recommend people start newsletters because they didn't have one before they got there. And everybody was just sending out singular campaigns. And that just doesn't do it. I want you to send out singular campaigns. You need to be active. You need to come up with cool content. But those first 5 automated emails is where you make your money. That is where people are most interested in you the moment they sign up. Why they've signed up, you just keep kind of ticking away. Give them something. Give them something more, and then pop in with something like your book. And then 30 days later, you can still use the exact same onboarding page. You can still just drop that review request. You can even have a separate sign-up form for readers of your book than those who've joined your website. And so you already know that you don't have to sell to these people. You are trying to get a review from these people. And so you can kind of maneuver it in a different way. I love automated sequences.
I have a course called the Author Email Academy where I teach everything about email from starting your list to getting it to a lot of subscribers, basically step-by-step to your first 10,000 subscribers. It's a 4-week course, and an entire week of the course is dedicated to the onboarding sequence. That's how important it is. They have 2 weeks focused on list growth. There's a week on reader magnets and a week on general how to grow your list. But week 3 is all about the onboarding sequence. And I find that, and for some authors, that's the most important week because they've already built. So some of you listening, you haven't gotten around to starting your email list. And if that's you, I actually have a free course called something start your email. It's like the send your first email challenge. That's what it's called. But others of you listening, you've had 1,500 2,000 people on your list for a long time, but you're not doing a whole lot with the list that you have, and it's this burden. You're like, oh, I gotta write another email this month. And for you, the automations could be a total game changer. So I encourage you, check out that course or just figure it out yourself, right? Kit's not that complicated to use, and having an onboarding sequence that walks people through the process really will not just help you get more reviews, but it'll help you get more sales and grow your connection with your readers. So it's wins all the way down. It's like turtles all the way down, but instead it's wins all the way down. We're almost out of time, but what are some more quick tips on getting more reviews from readers?
I like press kits a lot, so that helps with your presentation. You can put all of your best stuff in one document. It can be a great looking document. It can be your best excerpt. It can be your best blurbs. It can be your description. It can be things that you know would sell your book. So like your podcast appearance on that one really awesome podcast called Novel Marketing, you can put it in your press kit and they're going to like it because they know that you are a part of that and you are already working with experts like Thomas. And so making your book presentable is definitely number one, and a press kit can make a big difference. Make that thing downloadable on your website, make it a part of your pitch. And so with pitching too, I spend a ton of time in my book about pitch letters, and I worked with publishers. Everybody's got different opinions on how to pitch different people. And so saving time is beneficial, but I don't think that you should send the same email to 35 different people. I think that you should recognize your audience. You should not personalize every sentence in every pitch. I think that you can personalize that first paragraph enough to make sure that your recipient is aware that you are actually sending it to them instead of sending it to everybody they know. So take your time with your pitch letters. Don't spend too much time on your pitch letters because you still need the time to find more of them.
And you're talking about pitching like journalists and outlets, and we're talking about the editorial reviews from editorial boards, that sort of thing.
Yes, editorial reviews for blurbs and also media and trade reviews. So trade reviews, you don't have to worry about that pitch as much. They want the book. They want the thing that that goes up on your product page. They want your description, and they want the cover and the actual book, and they'll make the decision based on that itself. It doesn't matter if you've read Kirkus 100 times. They need to know that this book is a thing for their audience. But media reviews need to know sometimes, especially when they're on the smaller scale, that you are paying attention to them, that this is a purposeful pitch. So even if we're talking about a social media influencer or a podcaster, being able to pitch personally and make sure that they recognize that you know them can make a big, big difference, especially right out the gate.
And having a good media hook also really helps. And I actually built a Patron Toolbox tool to help with this. So you upload your book and it will create a list of hooks based off of the content of your book of ways that you can make it interesting to a journalist, and also a list of news events that are opportunities for newsjacking. So you can kind of keep your ear out for a certain kind of news event. You're like, I've been waiting for this one, and then you're ready to go because the news is only the same about 50 stories over and over again, right? Fires, floods, famines. That's just the F's, right? So, elections, wars, right? Like there's certain kinds of stories, and it just kind of rolls as like, okay, well now it's a war in Europe, now it's a war in Africa, or whatever. So once you kind of see the news that way, once you understand what your hooks are, you can start connecting your hooks with what the current narrative is, and your success rate on these pitches will go way up because journalists are start with a narrative that they want to present, and then they're looking for people who can help fill that narrative. That's not the ideal. And for some of you, you're like, that's not how it works. That's how it works. Most of the time, most journalists, they're trying to push a narrative. And so they're trying to find people who can act as either a countervailing voice for the narrative, so they can give both sides, or they can find somebody who can present that narrative. And being able to basically dance with the media is key if you want the media to feature you.
Yeah, and you can do it right in the subject line too. I pay a lot of attention to subject lines. I receive hundreds of submissions every week, and subject lines get me still. So I try to, just like agents, I try to save time in my inbox to try to figure out which are the books that I want to cover. And right in the subject line, that's the first thing I read. If you give me a good tagline, a good hook, a good angle, then I'm already in. And then I need to look at your book cover. If both of those things are on, then I'm moving pretty quickly. I'm ready to make the next decision. So figure out what your angles are for each specific platform too. And then also, probably most important, which is weird that I put it at the very end, but make sure you organize yourself, man. I mean, you need a spreadsheet ready. I've got a free one if you sign up for my Write Indie newsletter. So basically all you need to know is when you do it, and you need to know the name of the people that you pitched, and you need to know when you want to follow up with them. You need to know what their submission guidelines are, and you can put it all in one Google Sheet. So make sure that instead of just going into your email inbox after finding one platform, I need you to find all the platforms. Go ahead and research for a long time, put it all in there, and then give yourself the few days to send out those pitches and catalog it so you know when you pitch the people, when you need to follow up with them.
And if you want tactics like this to work, don't forget that you have to write the kind of book worth leaving a 5-star review for. And so the quality of your book really matters. And I know that's one of the things that you look at the independent book reviews. Tell us a little bit about what you do at the independent book review.
Oh man, it is my favorite job I've ever had. I started it in 2018. I was a small press marketer in Oregon. I'm not from Oregon. And so I got a job there and had to come back home, and I wanted to stay in publishing. So I started a book review platform because I knew that indie press and indie authors needed more reviews. And I knew the value of both free reviews and paid reviews, being able to guarantee in a certain amount of time that you get coverage and that you get a blurb. I thought there was something there, and I thought I could do a good job with it. And so ever since then, I've built up my reviewer list. I've got like 35 people right now reading for me, and you can either send books in for free, or you can pay for a guaranteed review in 2 weeks or 5 weeks. And I make my platform as reader friendly as possible. I'm reader focused first on the site, so that when you send your link to your followers of our review, it's not a website that is clearly something you buy reviews for. It is instead trying to cater to them. It is trying to make sure that they see that, like, oh, readers are talking about this book. The people who matter the most are talking about this book. And so that's what I do at Independent Book Review. I make sure we got like 400-word reviews for everybody, so we go in depth, but we also are honest and never mean. So we don't lie and say that books are incredible when they're not, but we also don't say this author should give up. There is a fine line to walk. Our reviewers are good at walking it. And so send your books to us. Send them for free. I'm still going through our submissions inbox to try to figure out who will get affiliate book sales from me. I sell through Bookshop and Amazon. So I want to sell to readers. So if you've got a good book that I think could sell, send it to me.
Independentbookreview.com is the website. And if you want to read Joe's book, it's The Truth About Book Reviews, an insider's guide to getting and using reviews to grow your readership. We'll have an affiliate link to his book and a link to his websites in the show notes of this episode of Novel Marketing. Joe Walters, thank you so much for joining us today on the Novel Marketing Podcast.
Oh, thank you, Thomas. This was awesome.
Our featured patron is Joy Cleveland, author of Lucy in Bloom. Lucy Bloom is content in her routine, but when a charming new pastor, Nathan Moss, arrives with his infectious warmth and sparkle, Lucy is forced to question everything she thought she knew about love and safety. With humor, heart, and a touch of divine intervention, this contemporary Christian romance unfolds in the transformative power of love and faith, urging readers to believe in the beauty of new beginnings. Joy Cleveland, thank you so much for being a patron of the Novel Marketing Podcast. Thank you for your support that keeps this show on the air. I really appreciate all of you and all of the patrons. Y'all really make this possible. Thank you. The Novel Marketing Podcast is a production of authormedia.com. To read the blog version of this episode, visit authormedia.com/475. I'm Thomas Umstattd Jr. saying thank you for listening and live long and prosper.